Vine stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the suffocating dress that felt like a cage around her body. The fabric clung uncomfortably to her skin, the high neckline pressing against her throat. She took a slow breath, ignoring the urge to loosen it. Complaining wasn't an option. Her mother had made that clear. Always wear dresses. Jungkook should find you elegant and never ever complain about anything a wife must endure. Endure. That was all Vine had been doing since this marriage began. Enduring the cold stares, the silent dinners, the way Jungkook barely acknowledged her existence. Tonight was no different. She had set the dining table waiting for him with a small hope that he would sit and eat with her, just once. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway made her straighten, smoothing down her dress. The front door opened a moment later and Jungkook walked in, his presence commanding yet distant. He loosened his tie, his sharp eyes briefly glancing at her before looking away just as fast. Did you eat? 'Cause I already ate in the office. I had a few guests so. His tone was casual, as if it didn't matter whether she had or not. Vine, who had been waiting for him, felt her chest tighten. The warmth she had hoped for didn't come. Instead, the cold reality of their marriage settled deeper into her bones. Yes, I had. She hadn't. But what was the point in telling him? Jungkook stared at her as if he was expecting a different answer. He nodded and went to freshen up. The aroma of freshly cooked dishes filled the dining hall, a mix of rich spices and delicate flavor that took hours to prepare. Vine stood by the table adjusting the placements, making sure everything looked perfect. The effort of standing for so long made her dizzy, but she swallowed the discomfort. Complaining wasn't an option. Vine's stepmother and father-in-law sat at the grand dining table, their presence stiff and formal. Jungkook's mother smiled politely, making light conversation while Jungkook remained mostly silent, only speaking when necessary. Vine's stepmother, however, sat with the same piercing gaze she always had. She picked up her chopsticks, about to take a bite, when her eyes accidentally met her stepmother's. The older woman's expression was sharp, disapproving, a silent warning. Vine froze, her stomach twisting. She knew exactly why her mother was glaring at her. She wasn't allowed to eat freely. She had to maintain her figure, stay perfect in every way, so Jungkook would find her appealing. Her stepmother had drilled that into her ever since the engagement, and Vine had no choice but to obey. Slowly she set her chopsticks down, pretending she wasn't hungry. The conversation around her continued, Jungkook's father praising the dishes, Jungkook nodding occasionally, his attention elsewhere. No one noticed her silent suffering, but this was her reality. There was no home for her to return to. Her father was gone, and her mother had made it clear that she was nothing more than an unwanted burden. She only had one place left, one person left. She only had Jungkook. The night was quiet. The only sound in the dimly lit room was the occasional rustling of sheets. Wine lay curled on her side, gripping the blanket tightly as a sharp pain twisted in her stomach. She clenched her jaw, trying to endure it. She had barely eaten all day, skipping lunch because she was busy cooking, eating little at dinner because she had no choice. Now her body was punishing her for it. A dull ache spread through her abdomen, turning into something unbearable. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing it to go away, but it did not. Her breathing grew uneven, and she shifted uncomfortably, trying to find a position that would ease the pain. She turned again and again. What happened? His deep voice cut through the silence. Vine froze. She hadn't realized he was still awake. Slowly, she sat up, forcing a neutral expression, despite the pain pressing against her ribs. Nothing, I can't sleep. Jungkook sat up, leaning against the headboard. His dark eyes studied her through the dim light. He wasn't convinced. His gaze flickered over her face, noting the distress she was trying to hide. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to ask more, but then he exhaled and leaned back, deciding not to push her. Try, it's late. Vine nodded and laid back down, turning away from him. She bit her lip, pressing a hand against her stomach as another wave of pain hit her. But she remained silent. She had to endure. The next morning, Vian woke up feeling even worse. Her head was heavy, the dizziness making it hard to focus. Her stomach still ached, a constant reminder of her exhaustion. She knew she could not ignore it anymore. She quietly got ready, moving careful so she wouldn't wake Jungkook. Slipping out of the house, she hailed a cab and headed straight to the hospital. She didn't want him to know. There was no point. He wouldn't care. Upon arriving, she walked into the hospital, pressing a hand against her temple as another wave of nausea hit her. The receptionist looked up. How can I help you? I need to see a doctor. I've been having stomach pain, dizziness, and nausea for a while now. The receptionist nodded and guided her toward the waiting area. As she sat down, she took a deep breath. She didn't know what was wrong with her, but she was determined to find out alone. Tears burned at the back of Ryan's eyes, but she forced them down, gripping the hem of her dress tightly as she sat across from the doctor. She had to stay strong. She had to endure. It's still second stage stomach cancer, but the good news is it's curable. There's nothing to worry about. Ryan swallowed hard, her vision blurring. Curable, but that didn't change the weight pressing against her chest. Bring your family with you on your next appointment and we'll start your treatment. She flinched. Family. The word felt foreign, almost meaningless. Slowly, she lowered her gaze, staring at her trembling hands. She had no one. Her father was gone. Her stepmother had never considered her family, and Jungkook did not care. Finally, the tears she had been holding back slipped down her cheeks. She quickly wiped them away and nodded, even though she had no idea who she would bring. Wine stepped inside the house only to freeze in the place. Jungkook was already there, sitting on the couch, his long fingers lazily tapping against the armrest. Her heart skipped a beat. It was still 3 p.m. He never came home before 6. Her palms grew sweaty, gripping the medicine tightly. Jungkook's sharp eyes landed on her, his gaze unreadable. Where did you go? Her breath hitched. She forced herself to stay calm, but her voice betrayed her. I just went out for some fresh air. His gaze flickered downward, noticing her clenched fist. For a second, she thought he would ask, like her mother did every time she went out without her permission, as it was not allowed. But he didn't. Instead, he leaned back against the couch. I didn't have anything to do at the office, so I left early. Can you bring me a coffee? Ryan quickly nodded, turning to leave, but before she could take a step, Jungkook stopped her. Let's drink it outside. I need to buy some clothes. You can get some too. A dull ache throbbed in her stomach. She didn't have the energy to walk around, let alone go shopping. Moreover, she was still in trance after finding out about her illness. But refusing him was an option. I don't need anything. I have plenty of clothes. You can go ahead. Jungkook's gaze darkened slightly. I told you I have a company dinner coming up, and you have to attend. Why are you refusing? Wan's eyes widened. She had completely forgotten about it. Jungkook didn't wait for her response. Go get ready. I'm waiting outside. Wan swallowed her lump in her throat and nodded, quickly heading to their shared room. As soon as she shut the door behind her, she exhaled shakily, pressing a hand to her stomach. She did not know how long she could keep this up. The mall was crowded, the air thick with the scent of luxury perfumes and freshly brewed coffee from nearby cafes. Violet followed Jungkook into the boutique, her legs feeling heavier with every step. She had no energy left. Her body was screaming at her to stop, to rest, but she could not let him notice. Her mother's word echoed in her mind. He'll leave you if you're not perfect. He won't want a weak wife. Jungkook scanned through the dresses, his expressions neutral. He picked a few and handed them to her. Try these on. Vine reached out to take them, but as soon as she extended her hand, her vision blurred. The boutique lights seemed too bright. Her head spinning. Before she could react, she stumbled straight into Jungkook. His firm grip caught her arm instantly, steadying her. His brows furrowed as he scanned her face. Vine, are you okay? Her heart pounded. She quickly stepped back, forcing a small smile. I'm just tired from walking. But it's only been 20 minutes. His voice was laced with suspicion. She averted her gaze, retreating a little more. I'm fine. Jungkook didn't look convinced. His dark eyes lingered on her for a moment before he turned away, picking up a black satin dress. How about this? It's pretty. Fine gaze fell on the dress. It was beautiful, elegant, delicate. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Without another word, Jungkook handed it to the receptionist and paid. He didn't bother looking for his own clothes. His mind was elsewhere, on Vian. She wasn't fine, and he knew it. But she never let him in. Jungkook had been observing Vian closely for weeks. She looked pale, her usual dress weighed down by exhaustion. He had asked her multiple times, but the answer was always the same. I'm just tired from the course. Jungkook even hired maids to help her, hoping it would lighten her burden, but nothing changed. She looked still weak, still looked distant. That evening, they were getting ready for the company dinner. Vine glanced at Jungkook, her eyes landing on the suit he wore. It was one of his old ones, something he had worn only once. She remembered how he had planned to buy a new one, but never did. Guilt gnawed at her. I'm sorry, Jungkook. Jungkook turned to her, confused. It's because of me. You had to wear an old suit. I'm sorry. A strange feeling settled in his chest. She sounded so distant, so formal, like he was nothing more than an obligation to her. It hurts. Both were lost in their own thoughts. Wine believed he didn't care about her because their marriage was arranged. Jungkook, on the other hand, felt like she didn't trust him enough to open up. He sighed and gave her a small smile. It's fine. This suit is still new. It's not a big deal. Wine glanced at his face, watching for any sign of disappointment, but there was none. She felt relieved. Get ready, I'm waiting downstairs. Be quick. Wine nodded as Jungkook walked out. After a few minutes, she descended the stairs, the soft fabric of her dress flowing around her. As she reached the last step, Jungkook turned toward her, and his breath hitched. She looked breathtaking. The dress hugged her curves perfectly, highlighting her elegance. She looked ethereal, most unreal. Maya stood in front of him waiting. Jungkook, still in daze, finally snapped out of his trance. He cleared his throat and stuttered, "Let's go." Wayne stayed close to Jungkook throughout the party, introduced her to his clients, colleagues, and business partners, maintaining his usual composed demeanor. She silently followed along, nodding and smiling when necessary. Then a familiar voice broke through the crowd. "Jungkook." A man walked up to Jungkook with a bright smile before pulling him into a hug. It was Jimin, his old friend and current business partner, managing one of their branches in America. Jungkook patted his back and introduced Ryan. "Jimin, meet my wife. You couldn't attend our wedding as your work was more important than me, so." But before Jungkook could finish, Jimin's smile faded as he turned to Ryan. His eyes widened in shock. For a moment, time froze. Jimin and Ryan just stood there, staring at each other. Jungkook noticed their strange reaction and frowned. "Do you two know each other?" Jimin's gaze didn't leave Ryan as he spoke. Jungkook turned to Ryan, confusion flashing across his face. The realization set in. He was taken aback, but more than that, he felt something else, fear. "Jungkook, you must be mistaken." Jimin shook his head. "No, I'm not." He stopped mid-sentence. He was about to say love, as he usually did in the past, but he knew it wasn't appropriate in front of Jungkook. "What are you doing here?" Jimin stared at her for a moment before answering. "We're business partners and friends." Vine lowered her gaze, gripping her dress tightly. Just then, Jungkook's manager approached. "Mr. John, Mr. An is looking for you. Could you come for a moment?" Jungkook hesitated. He didn't want it to leave. Not now. But he had no choice. "I'll be back." As Jungkook walked away, Jimin and Ryan remained in silence before he finally spoke. "Should we sit?" Ryan nodded and they moved to a quieter table. "How have you been, Ryan?" Ryan kept her gaze down. "I'm fine. How about you?" Jimin sighed. "I won't lie because you'd catch it anyway. I'm not fine. Not since you left." "I know it was your mother's doing." Ryan's head snapped up, her eyes wide in shock. "How do you know?" "That's not important anymore. What's important is, why didn't you fight back?" "I had no choice." "Why? You could have asked for help." Ryan looked at him but said nothing. It was useless to bring up the past. Her mother had blackmailed her, telling her that marrying Jungkook was her father's last wish. Her father really wished it, but he had always wanted her happiness more than anything. He wouldn't have forced her into this. Her mother just wanted to get her out of the house so she could have everything. "I told you, Jimin, my life is so messed up. But you never listened. It's in the past now. I don't want to talk about it." Jim observed her for a moment before nodding. "Alright, I won't bring it up. It's all in the past anyway. Sorry. I guess I'm still stuck there. Time's moving too fast for me." "I'm sorry, Jimmy. Don't be. It's not your fault. I feel better now after seeing you with Jungkook. He's a good person. He knows how to take care of his loved ones." Mine flinched at those words. His loved ones. She wasn't one of them. At least that's what she believed. Jimin gave her a small smile. "Now show me your prettiest smile so I can move on peacefully." Vine looked at him for a moment before forcing a smile. Jimin chuckled and pulled her into a hug. "Thank you, Jimin, for being there during my toughest time. And thank you for not hitting me, but understanding me." Jimin pulled away slightly, his hands still on her arms. "How could I hate such a lovely person who only deserved to be loved?" They smiled at each other, their past still lingering in the air between them. "Now that we've cleared things up, how about a drink to celebrate?" One felt her palms grow sweaty. She couldn't handle, not in her condition, but she couldn't refuse either. She forced a smile. "Sure." They cleaned their glasses and Wine took the shot in one go, feeling the burn in her throat. Jimin poured another. "Jimin, that's enough. I can't handle too much." Jimin smiled. "Liar, you think I forget what a heavy drinker you used to be?" Wine forced another smile and took the second shot. The burning sensation in her chest worsened, but she ignored it. Jungkook stood near the watching everything unfold. His grip on his glass tightened. his knuckles turning white. His mind raced. She never smiles like that with me. She never talked to me like that. She only answers me with yes or no. She always keeps her distance. But there she is, hugging him, drinking with him. The jealousy burned in his veins like poison. He did not even realize how many drinks he had drawn until his vision slightly blurred, and then he saw it. Mine smiling at Jimin, that was it. That was his limit. He set his glass down with a loud thud and stormed toward them. Jimin, we are leaving. It's getting late. But you guys just got here. I'm not feeling well. I'll meet you tomorrow in the office. Jimin nodded in understanding and pulled Jungkook into a hug, patting his back. Then he turned to Wine and hugged her as well. It was the final push Jungkook didn't need. Jimin pulled away, but before Wine could even react, Jungkook grabbed her wrist and pulled her away from the table, his grip firm and unyielding. Wine stumbled slightly, startled by his sudden aggression, but she didn't protest. The tension was suffocating. The driver was behind the wheel, and Jungkook sat beside Wine in the back seat, silent, his entire body radiated anger, his hands clenched into fist on his lap. He did not speak. He didn't even look at her. The air was thick with unspoken words, but neither of them dared to break the silence. They reached home in tense silence. Jungkook stormed inside first, his footsteps heavy with anger, frustration, and something even deeper, hurt. Wine followed behind him, her own steps weak and unsteady. She could still feel the burn-off in her stomach, mixing dangerously with the pain that had been lingering for days. As soon as she stepped inside, Jungkook whirled around, his dark eyes glaring at her with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. You're having so much fun. Wine froze at his words, realizing something was really wrong, something deeper. She lowered her gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. He was my only friend in university. I met him after years. Jungkook scoffed, his jaw clenching. Friend? Just a friend? Wine's breath hitched. The way he said it, he knew everything. Jungkook, it's all in the past anyway. I don't have feelings for him, I promise. If you want, I'll never meet him again. She thought that would calm him down, but it did the opposite. Jungkook suddenly stormed toward her, his emotions spilling out in ways even he didn't understand. Then why don't you talk to me like you do with him? Stop this trying to be perfect wife drama. Wine blinked, taken aback. This wasn't what she expected. He wasn't angry about Jimin. He was hurt. She parted her lips to respond, but before she could say anything, a sharp pain stabbed through her stomach. Her vision blurred for a moment and she swayed slightly.